All right, everybody, welcome to the Sunday recap / preview / college basketball recap / preview. Basically, everything that's going on in the wide world of sports. We all know what takes precedent, though. And like Brandon Staley and the Chargers, we're not going to blow it when it counts or do stupid things. Like button, turn on that bell for notifications as well. Obviously, my co-host, David Cohn, former Michigan quarterback, also the person who we think really is David Michigan. And then my brother, who's not a superhero unless you grew up with him, and I'll never let you forget it, Blaine Crane, former Western State, Colorado, had just as many receiving yards as Austin Eckler in the second half as well. Gentlemen, what's up?
What is going on?
Good morning, fellas.
I do think of myself as a superhero, a super dragon. So
Super Dragon.
Yeah.
Only on Fridays.
Super Flaming Dragon. Super Flaming Dragon.
That's horrifying in ways I can never explain or understand. But, guys, we got to start yesterday, obviously, with the NFL. When you look at what happened with the Chargers, it's inexcusable to me. Obviously, we're going to get to the other game. Went about as people thought it would go. And halftime was a little bit interesting, but then it ended up being a blowout. But that Chargers game, guys, and people today will say, all right, you have to fire Brandon Staley for that. And I agree. I agree. But to me, it's more, than just the game last night. It's going and playing guys in a meaningless game the last weekend of the season. Like they're just going to forget. Oh, no, if I don't play Mike Williams or Keenan Allen or Austin Eckler or Bosa or my starting offensive line, they're just going to forget. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. I don't know another way to describe it other than it's an unbelievable job of overthinking something. Paralysis by analysis. I'm still in my mind trying to figure out why you would put your team at risk like that. And that's not talking about every time you got in the red zone in the second half, deciding just to throw the ball after you did nothing but run the ball successfully in the first half with Austin Eckler. I was shocked at the decision-making. I was shocked at the game management in the second half. David, I'll start with you. I mean, it's inexcusable in that situation.
For sure.
Inexcusable.
Well, I told you guys throughout the majority of the season that, I don't think Brandon Staley should be the coach of the Chargers next season. I don't really know what their identity is. But then all of a sudden they made the playoffs, right? And it's like tough to get rid of a coach when you've just made the playoffs. And honestly, they got a good draw. Yeah, you have to go on the road, but you're getting Jacksonville, okay? And I think this team has struggled understanding just what their identity is throughout the season. It's like, I know they had a lot of injuries and, you're trying to lean on Austin Eckler as much as possible. But so the final outcome of this game did not surprise me, boys, right? I knew that Jacksonville could keep this game close, possibly even win it. It's a home game for them. What I think surprised everyone was the way the Chargers played in the first half compared to the second half. And just like what Blaine was saying earlier, how do you not get the best player on your team, the football, in the second half? I don't think they understand who their best player is.
Without a doubt. And Blaine, if you look, the Jaguars tried to give you the game. They gave you the game in the first half. Here you go, guys. What was it? First pass, tip, pick. You threw 4 interceptions. 4 interceptions in a game where the guys never played in the playoffs. I mean, how do you explain that? How do you look if you're Brandon Staley, when the owner calls or the higher-ups call or the fan base is calling? How do you explain that? And he's got to stop picking his nose in between timeouts. Like, dude, they show you on the sidelines. Like, you got to understand you can't just go gold digging in there and think they're not going to catch you. But that's neither here nor there.
5 turnovers. You were up 27-7. The other team had 5 turnovers. You still lost this game. And we always talk about coaching is what? Coaching half the time, especially in the NFL's halftime adjustments. You scored 3 points in the second half. I mean, at the end of the day, you choked. I mean, not only from a play calling standpoint, but the players did as well. And we always say this about the Chargers. This is what I was worried about with the Chargers. Up front blocking on the offensive line and their defensive line giving up the run. One of the worst teams in the NFL for amount of rush yards they give up a game. And I don't think Etienne had a crazy day. I think he ended that had 120 rushing yards. He was over 100 yards, but they kept him somewhat in check. But at the end of the day, and the same thing goes back to what David said, you have to realize who got you there, all right? And who's the guy who's going to carry you through the finish line. And that's one of the best running backs in the league. And Austin Eckler, he had 35 yards in the first half. He ended with, I think, 36 yards. So net gain of basically no yards in the second half. You ended up with 2 more rushing attempts. Didn't run the ball at all in the second half where you're up 27-7. And it comes down to one thing that is kind of noted to me, especially in this game. I believe when it was 31-28, after the Jags just got the 2-point conversion, you come out on the first down instead of the running ball, you run a play action, you get sacked for
exactly
8 yards. That's on coaching. That's on you. We can go back to the week before what he did, which was ridiculous, idiotic in every way. But not having Mike Williams is not the reason you lost this game.
I agree with that.
You lost this game from a coaching standpoint, from a play calling standpoint in the second half. And you got to give a lot of respect for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Right now, I mean, who's done a better job than Doug Peterson?
Yep.
I agree.
Dayball from the Giants, maybe.
Yep.
But Doug Peterson, if you're the Saints right now, you're crying in your room alone after you let Doug Peterson go with your new head coach that you got now. Am I surprised that the Jaguars won? No. I'm just surprised how they won. I mean, 27-7 at halftime.
Well, it's funny because we always talk about what football's like life. It's a game of adjustments, right? Go back to the Niners-Seahawks game, which we're about to get to. The Seahawks were beating them in the middle of the line of scrimmage on defense. The Niners could not get anything going in the B gaps or the A gaps. So what did they do? They adjusted. They started running on the edge. They started using the perimeter run game, the quick perimeter screens to be able to start getting yards. The Chargers never adjusted to not being able to run the ball in the second half. Their only answer was, well, I guess we got to throw it. And it worked out a couple times. They hit a few third and longs. They got lucky on the personal foul, which I didn't think was a personal foul in the fourth quarter when Trayvon Walker was kind of celebrating a little bit and ran into Justin Herbert. But in the same token that Mike Williams didn't lose the game, guys, Justin Herbert didn't lose the game to me. I thought Justin Herbert did everything that he had to do to win the game. You didn't turn the ball over. You came out and you played efficient. You spit it around to everybody. It's just at some point, and he's too young to do it right now. But I wonder if a veteran quarterback would have said to a rookie or to a young head coach that Brandon Staley is, hey, man, we need to run the ball a little bit. I think that. But then Matt Ryan didn't tell him to do it in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, I don't know.
I know, but there's just no reason that Travis Etienne for the Jaguars should have 3 times the amount of total yards that Austin Eckler has, especially after you've amassed a 27-point lead. I keep going back to the biggest play there at the end of the first half when Trevor Lawrence is sacked for a 12 to 15-yard loss, going to make it a long field goal attempt for the Jaguars at the end of the game. And it was offsides lined up in the neutral zone on Joey Bosa. And I think, and then Jacksonville goes and scores right before the half to sort of build some of that momentum. I'm not really sure what happened with Joey Bosa down the stretch there in that game, but there were several moments like that where he's penalized and it really cost his team the game. But just like what Blaine said, man, all credit to Jacksonville. Doug Peterson is the perfect coach for this franchise. He's already won a Super Bowl. You have a young quarterback who still obviously, has a long way to go, throwing 4 interceptions and a half, but all of the tools are there. The skill players are there. Young on defense. I don't think this team is going to be playing in the Super Bowl this season. But, man, you can see a special foundation being formed with Doug Peterson and Jacksonville.
And don't forget, guys, Calvin Ridley is going to be on this team. Calvin Ridley is going to be a wide receiver on the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're going to have Zay Jones, Marvin Jones Jr., Calvin Ridley, Evan Ingram. What a great decision by Evan Ingram, taking a chance on the Jags. If you watch that story on him, he could have gone a lot of places. He thought the Jags fit him best. He was like, I know it was a risk. He got a 1-year deal. Now you're moving on to the next round of the playoffs. And a guy like Evan Ingram deserves it. Does everything the right way, even since he was back at Ole Miss. Really happy for him.
And ETN. I mean, think about it. When they traded away Robinson, James Robinson in the middle of the season, we're like, man, James Robinson is one of their best players on offense. Like, what are they doing? Travis Etienne is not performing well. All of a sudden, you see a game like yesterday. 125, 130 total yards in a playoff game. So everything you want to see in Jacksonville is happening right now.
Definitely. Let's get to the Booster Club there, Mine.
All right, let's get what's up, Booster Club. Hope everybody's having a good weekend. Let's go to Cody Klattler. What's up, Cody? He says Brandon Staley has now ended both of his seasons as a Chargers coach with 2 of the biggest choke job evers. I mean, I can't sit here
again. When you show me who you are, I'm going to believe you. Like when you show me who you are, I'm going to believe. But again, it's not just about these one games. It's about the bad decisions leading up to this game. Guys, I would not be surprised if you saw the Chargers fire Brandon Staley and go hard after Sean Payton. I would not be surprised at all. You look at that situation for Sean Payton, a really good young quarterback, good stable of receivers, good back, an offensive line that's getting your left tackle back in Rashawn Slater. You got to get this guy out of here, man. Though, somebody give this guy the Heimlich. He's choking on a regular basis.
Do you think since the Rams and the Chargers already share a stadium, like Sean McVay could just like coach both of them?
Just do both.
Just like
do both.
Split time.
It's like
he's like, I already wanted to quit. Now you want me to coach both of the teams?
Look, just show up. Let's just make sure we don't play each other and the games are on at different times, and it'll work. It's like I said before Auburn hired Hugh Freeze. I mean, just let Bruce Pearl coach the football team. They're different seasons. You know what I'm saying? I mean, at the end of the day, work smarter, not harder.
All right, let's go to Stephen Moore. He says, did the Jaguars break the Jags aren't allowed to have nice things, Kurt? Yeah, it's done now. You can have all the nice things you want.
You're playing with house money. Here's my question, though. You're doing this when you're not expected.
Yes, there you go.
Is the curse really broken when you're kind of the underdog coming out of nowhere, or is the curse broken when you have those expectations and you go in there and fulfill them? I think it's the latter, David.
No, I agree with you. And I remember this team playing in the the AFC Championship, with Leonard Fournette and Blake Bortles. I mean, we know that this franchise can play in big time games, but I think that's what I'm saying. I think Doug Peterson is the type of coach, because he's done it. We've seen him do it with the Eagles, and I do agree with Jake, though. It's a little bit different when you're the underdog as opposed to when everybody's expecting you to be good in the coming years. Can you really show up and beat good teams then?
Yeah. High expectations are a good thing, though. Let's go to Texas Ed. He says, why you fire Brandon Staley? If his team was behind 27 points at halftime, he doesn't get his team to believe enough to win in the second half. Doug Peterson coaching circles around Staley. I don't know if they didn't believe in the second half. I just don't think they made adjustments at all.
They didn't make adjustments. And again, I'm not saying you go out there and just sit on the ball. That's not what I'm saying. But at some point, man, you have to have some situational awareness. I mean, how many times are you going to throw it on first down with a 20-point lead? And another decision, you got the ball at the 36. Cameron Dicker kicked a 50-yard field goal that had an extra 10 yards on it. Would have been good from 60. And it's a 52-yard field goal, and you punt it? And you punted it? Like, it's little decisions like that to me added up. It's like anything. If you want to fix something big, it's a lot of small decisions, all right, good decisions that you make that lead to a big result. You had not kicking the field goal. All right, Bosa costing them 4 points, costing the field goal, and they went for the 2-point conversion, which ended up being genius at the end, gave them the ability to win. But you mix all that stuff together, and it goes back on the coaching staff. Your guys weren't prepared to not make stupid plays. Your guys weren't prepared to be able to play with the lead. You weren't prepared to make adjustments in the second half off of what you've seen. That's on you. That's on the coaches. That's why you need to be fired, in my opinion.
All right, let's go. All right, let's go to Coffee Guy 95. What's up, Coffee Guy? I need some coffee as we speak. Seahawks were supposed to be one of the worst teams in the NFL and made the playoffs. Are they one of the biggest surprises in football? You want to go ahead and transition to that game?
Yeah, look, nothing like a good transition. When I look at this game, number one, you talk about house money with the Jags, right? This is 100% house money for the Seahawks. And when you looked at the forecast, you saw rain. Maybe it could be kind of a muddy, mucky, low-scoring game, which is about the only chance the Seahawks had. Now, I was shocked that early in this game, the Seahawks were the more physical team. They really were. I know the Niners were able to move the ball, but from a physicality standpoint, especially in the interior of the line of scrimmage, the Seahawks came to play. Geno Smith came to play. You look at the way he started. I mean, that touchdown, the first touchdown he threw to DK Metcalf was an absolute prime time dime with the all-out blitz coming. Yeah. You couldn't have handed it off better to him. But he was making good decisions. And again, I know the question, Coffee Guy, was, are they the biggest surprise? One of them. All right. I think there were two of the biggest surprises going on that field at the same time. The Seahawks in general, and Geno Smith, and what Brock Purdy continues to do as the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers. And I know he's got a ton of weapons, but it's not easy to go out and make the plays, extending the plays inside and outside of the pocket like he did, the touchdowns that he threw to Elijah Mitchell and then Christian McCaffrey early in that game. But if you're the Seahawks, you found what you needed. All right, you found what you needed. You went to eharmony.com just to see. All right, just to see. Maybe somebody's on there that I can get along with. Probably not going to fall in love. Then all of a sudden, Jennifer pops up. 34. Good job. No kids. Never been arrested. Wow, let's get together. Dated around or whatever. You've seen in the local speed dating circuit. And then Geno Smith. There it is. 41. Swipe right. You love to see it. If you're the Seahawks and a Seahawks fan, you have your core. You have your quarterback. You have space and you have picks. Now, all the moves that they made, moving guys and opening up space, is going to pay huge dividends next year. Guys, I would not be shocked if we saw Seattle really, really make a push in the next 2 to 3 years to at least get back to a conference championship.
Okay, so I see what you're saying. I'll say the same thing about expectations. Geno Smith did a phenomenal job this season when the expectation for Seattle was to be one of the worst teams in the league. Now, they're a 9-win football team, make it to the playoffs. He's the most accurate passer in the NFL this season and breaks the single-season yardage record for Seattle, like stuff you can't even write in a movie. When the expectation is, wait, can Geno Smith lead Seattle with this group of young guys who's coming up to a conference championship or even to a Super Bowl? Because that needs to be the standard. Pete Carroll's done it there, won a Super Bowl with Russell Wilson. How will he perform then? Is this going to be the guy for the long term?
No, I don't know. Well, I don't know at this point if you can pass up on him after the year that he had. Now, the contract is what I can't wait to see what that's going to look like for Geno Smith. I mean, maybe it's 80 mil over a couple of years. We'll see. But if you're the Seahawks right now, you're an extremely good young football team. I mean, you have 2 rookie tackles who played extremely well. Kenneth Walker, who played extremely well, draft pick. DK Metcalf, young, had over 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. And your secondary is young, but
Tyler Lockett
good.
continues.
Tyler Lockett's going to still do it as long as Tyler stays healthy. You have Noah Fant at tight end. I mean, you have an extremely good young core. You have a lot of picks coming over from the Russell Wilson trade. So if you're in Seattle, the only really question you have is the Geno Smith question and what that contract's going to look like. So that's something I can't wait to see. And one thing I do want to say, I believe in Brock Purdy at this point. I don't know how you don't. He struggled in the first half somewhat. I wouldn't say it was a bad first half, but Seattle was leading at halftime, and he comes in and ends up throwing for 330 yards and 3 touchdowns. I'm pretty sure it's the best rookie performance by any quarterback ever in their first playoff game. So at this point, the San Francisco 49ers have the best roster in football. Yep. Christian McCaffrey might be the best trade of the season. I mean, the dude's an absolute stud. Deebo Samuel comes back. I mean, has like 160 yards, a touchdown. Brandon Ayuk ended with 75. And your defense played well, especially in the second half. And the D-line, it was a momentum game. Once that turnover happened, Geno Smith, when they were down 5, that's when it really started. Everything just started to lay on top of itself, and it was just a runaway. But at this point, if you're the 49ers, I mean, you can't limit yourself if you're Kyle Shanahan with Brock Purdy. I mean, everything needs to be open with this kid, because if you do limit yourself, then you get in the latter half of the playoffs. That's when I get worried. The only thing that worries about these 49ers defense is getting beat over the top.
Well,
that's the only thing that's worried me about them.
Well, Ward can't get cooked like that. I haven't seen Ward get cooked like that the whole season. I mean, DK Metcalf was just playing with him out there. He was just playing with him. Now, they buttoned up a little bit in the red zone, but I was shocked that Ward struggled so much. And, man, because he's such a good player, such a good corner. And speaking about high expectations, if you have high expectations of your sportsbook, well, guess what? We got the best one there is, DraftKings. It's unbelievably easy. Right now, if you use our code BOOSTER, BOOSTER, you can bet a $5, just any bet on the NFL, and get $200 free instantly. That's a $5 bet, okay? And get $200 in free bets. You're going to win something off that. And in this economy, it's incredible. Same game parlay. I hit a $370 parlay last night.
Ooh,
you can see it on social media. If the Chargers would have won, I would have won another $300. That's another reason that I personally today am firing Brandon Staley. And I will never forgive the Chargers for what they did to me last night. Look me in the eyes. Don't look me in the eyes. Not look me in the eyes again. You're fired. But DraftKings Sportsbook, the best one out there. Cody, you love it. I love it. We all love it. Love
it, man. Was hitting some good stuff yesterday. 2 for 2 on the 49ers game, which was nice. Yeah. 2 same game parlays. Really like it. Christian McCaffrey getting in the end zone. Feel good about it.
Was going to take Christian as the first touchdown scorer, but of course, the one time I don't take him, he does score the first touchdown. But hey, DraftKings, if you're going to draft, baby, draft like a king. That's for sure.
For sure. All right, guys. I do want to get to the chat real quick, and then we're going to preview these games.
All right, let's go to Cody. What's up, Cody? Says Geno Smith's efficiencies this season proves that Russ was just a product of a system. I mean, at this point, is he wrong?
I want to see another bad season from Russell before I 100% say that.
Mm-hmm.
Just like this is the anomaly for Geno Smith. What if this is the anomaly for Russell Wilson? I don't want to have – it's the same thing with Brandon Staley. If this was the first time it happened last night with the Chargers, I'm like, all right, give them – but we've seen it multiple times. You know what I'm saying? And again, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. But that's not a knee-jerk thing. That's not a one-game thing. That's not a one-season thing. Let's see who the Broncos get in there. Let's see how Russell Wilson does. And if we're sitting in the same position next year with Russell Wilson having a year like he had this year, then yes, I can look at you and say that. Now, but if you're going to make that argument, okay, off one season, is Bill Belichick not just a system coach? I mean, what has he won since Tom Brady left? If we're going to say that about Russell Wilson, can we not say the inverse? I mean, Tom, how many Super Bowls did Bill Belichick win without Tom Brady? How many Super Bowls has Tom Brady won without Bill Belichick? I mean, let's play a game, but let's be honest.
Yeah, no, I think that's the right approach. I just watched Russell Wilson make too many plays for the last half decade plus with the Seahawks to just completely write him off. So I want to see a little bit bigger sample size from him in a new city. Now, if he was being coached by Andy Reid or some offensive mind like that and then left and this happened, then yeah, you would say like, man, this is clearly he was just the product of a great offensive mind. Pete Carroll's more of a defensive guy, though. Pete Carroll's not out there doing what Sean McVay or Andy Reid is doing. So let's just see what happens to both of these franchises and both of these players moving forward, at least over the next season before we say that. But you have to – it wasn't the on-the-field stuff that surprised me so much as the off-the-field rumors that we were hearing, like Russell Wilson sort of being a prima donna and Seattle was kind of happy to get rid of him and all the weird things off the field. That's what surprised me almost even more than the on-field play.
Yeah. Blaine, you said it best, I thought. I thought Blaine said it best. Russell Wilson's the guy that reminds the teacher she didn't take out the homework from last night right before the class is about to.
Yeah. And really the thing that kind of upset me a little bit is like, if you really take a deep dive into his contract with the Broncos, it's ridiculous. I mean, this guy is basically the Prince of Persia over there. I mean, he got his own office. He has 6 parking spots. Like, I mean, I get it. It's Russell Wilson. But, I mean, he's not the president. You're a player at the end of the day, man. You're not more important than any other of these guys that are out here. And I feel like once you get that level of chemistry, especially with the coaches and players, if you get treated differently as a player, you notice it, right? And the other guys notice it, and it makes you play different, in my opinion. Russell Wilson at this point, he's just a lame to me, and he always will be. Let's go to Texas Ed. What's up, Texas? He says, can we get a parlay that the Purdy conversation into saying that Big 12 developed some good QBs for the league, 5 Big 12 quarterbacks in the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, look, you give credit where credit's due. I mean, and Brock, and look, I think too, we have to understand Brock Purdy started 4 years at high-level college football.
Yep.
Like he's again, the NFL's a different game, same sport. We all know that, but there is something to be said when you have started for that long. I mean, it's just an understanding of, yes, the game is faster, but I'm not out of place. Not that everybody can do it. There's guys that have started for 4 years, 5 years. Hell, Sean Clifford started for 32 and a half years at Penn State. He should be the greatest NFL quarterback all time, the way Brock Purdy's going. But it is a big feather in the cap, in my opinion. And just one more thing on the Russell Wilson deal. Yeah, man. I mean, it's like Kenny Powers said in that PE class when the kid said his dad told him that Kenny Powers ruined baseball. It's like, listen, if anybody's looking to pick on anybody, that's the guy, because I'm not looking. I don't care how many push-ups, pull-ups, or high knees you can do on the plane. That's the guy. But no, I mean, you got to give credit to the Big 12. And look, we always joke around about the Big 12 not having, first-round draft picks. And right now, everybody else is Mr. Irrelevant to Brock Purdy. But no, you got to give credit where credit is due. But, guys, let's go ahead and get into some of these games. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well. We go live each weekday morning, 7:30 to 9 Eastern, 6:30 to 8 Central. Make sure you check us out. Heck of a time. We got call-ins that we're doing again this week. We're going Monday as well. First time doing that, so really excited. I know y'all are too.
Oh, I'm stoked. Look, the more call-ins we have, the better. I want to hear from the people. Look, at the end of the day, it's about the people. That's what's the vibe of the Booster Club. The Booster Club knows at the end of the day.
They do know.
Yeah.
What game you want to get in first? Bills Dolphins?
Yeah, let's go Bills Dolphins. Guys, look, I want to sit up here, and say, Scott
how did the Dolphins win, Jake?
Do what?
How did the Dolphins win? Tell me how the Dolphins win this game.
All right. Well, what you're going to have to do, if it was me, all right, you're going to have to find a way to get the ring that Frodo threw in the fire. You're gonna have to go to. You have to start this whole thing over again. You're gonna have to go find Gandalf selling fireworks on some old dirt road. Convince him into letting you go on this quest. Oh, I accidentally found the ring. In the same place where Snowflake the dolphin got kidnapped in Ace Ventura, and now we're gonna go try and throw it in the fire at Mordor. Which Buffalo right now, it's especially with DeMar Hamlin being discharged in that whole situation. It's just I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. It's like me being 7 foot and playing in the NBA for the next 10 years. That'd be awesome. Probably be a pretty cool story. Would be a pretty cool story, but it's not going to happen. All right, it's like the Snuffleupagus walking in here right now playing with my French Bulldog. It's just not going to happen. Skylar, number one, I don't trust anybody named Skylar. Girls or guys, I'm sorry. Just don't trust it. Second off, if I'm the Bills right now, who is more fired up than the Bills? Who's more fired up than the Bills? There's not another team that is going to be more excited to play than the Buffalo Bills. You're at home. You're feeling good. The Dolphins, eventually that Dolphins defense, that dam is going to break. And they don't have the best defense, in the world. A 13.5-point spread, guys, in an NFL playoff game. That's how bad Vegas thinks this ass beating is going to be, which makes it a beating of a lifetime.
Well, to all the people out there listening named Skylar, I would like to apologize on behalf of Jake. I will not discriminate against anyone named Skylar, but I will discriminate against third-string quarterbacks playing in playoff games. Look, man, the Bills are going to try and come out and just set the tone. Set the tone. It's been an emotional roller coaster the last few weeks. They were a lot of people's favorite to win the Super Bowl this season. I think they're going to come out in this first round and take advantage of a third-string quarterback starting on the other side, set the tone, try and, send a message to the rest of the league, especially the AFC, and say, hey, this is what we're capable of. This is what's coming. Get ready.
I am here. I am now.
I look at this game. You're the Dolphins. You just got to hit big plays. You have to hit big plays, and you need to hit them early. You're going to get Buffalo's best shot early. I promise you that, especially at home. They're going to come out swinging. They're going to come out swinging heavy. You can't turn the ball over. If anything, I don't know if the Dolphins can win this game, but I think Buffalo can lose it. A minus 13.5-point spread. If anything double digits in the NFL, that means they think they're going to get killed. But in my opinion right now, I'm looking at the Bills in the red zone, especially the way Josh Allen's been in the red zone all year. Has not been playing well in the red zone. I don't see that today. I think the Bills do cover in this game. But, if you're the Dolphins right now, it's not looking great, obviously, with Tua. I don't think Tua plays another down in the NFL for his career. I think he's done. So if you're the Dolphins right now, you're shopping for a quarterback, and I can't wait to see who's that quarterback's going to end up being.
Maybe Lamar Jackson.
Sources said today Tua's coming back next year.
No way. I got told by somebody yesterday. He got told by an Alabama staffer that I'm pretty sure he's done.
Well, I just keep thinking of the Drew Barrymore 51st Dates movie. Like every morning, Tua's going to wake up and think they're playing the Bills.
But even if you're a Dolphins coach or a Dolphins fan, you got to go get somebody.
Yeah,
you have to. There's no way you think Tua's going to stay healthy enough to play it. Yeah. There's no way. You have to get somebody. Maybe that's a backup. Maybe it's an Andy Dalton or a Jimmy
Well, that's what they did with
Garoppolo.
Teddy Bridgewater, right?
Yeah,
that was the Teddy Bridgewater.
He got hurt.
Yeah, that is true. But it's still Teddy Bridgewater.
Well, that's what somebody would say if they went and got Andy Dalton, and Andy Dalton was forced to start 6 games.
I'd take Andy over Teddy Bridgewater.
Sure, but it's
it's
in the same ballpark.
And Jalen Waddle and Jasicki and those guys. It's going to be a lot easier for Andy Dalton than him having to throw to Shaheed out there for the Saints. And everybody just saying stop Alvin Kamara and you stop the Saints. I look at names like Lamar Jackson. You add Lamar Jackson at the Dolphins, that means Tua's never playing, at least for the Dolphins again. I don't know how you'd be able to make that fit. Jimmy Garoppolo, a guy just, safe, going to treat your daughter right, has a good job, good family, but it's going to be interesting to see how the Dolphins play it forward. Final score prediction, Blaine.
Oh, my goodness. Give me 31-17 Bills.
I'll go 37-17. What'd you say, Blaine?
31-17.
37-17.
Give me 34-10. 34-10. I don't see the Dolphins being able to score over. I think their team total points is 14.5. Last time I checked on DraftKings, I don't see them getting to that mark.
And remember, the Dolphins, you had their first round pick suspended.
Yeah, yep, that's very true.
So they're not going to have a first round pick.
Yep, stuff that went down with the owner. That's looming large right now. All right, let's get into the next game, guys. Bengals, Ravens. Still, again, similar to the Dolphins and Bills, the Ravens are not going to have Lamar Jackson or Huntley, I believe. I think Anthony Brown starting this game, Blake?
Yep. Anthony Brown will be the starter for the Ravens. And if you're a Bengals fan, you are jumping up and down in your house right now because Anthony Brown I don't deal in absolutes, but there's a 0% chance that Anthony Brown goes out and wins.
There's absolutely no chance.
The Bengals right now, in my opinion, are the scariest team in the NFL.
Man, I was about to say this.
The scariest team in the NFL.
I would put them right behind the Niners because of the way Brock Purdy's playing. Only because of the way Brock Purdy's playing.
I think the Niners are the best team in the NFL. But I think the Bengals are the scariest team in the NFL from an offensive production standpoint. I think they could run with the Niners. The only thing that will forever scare you if you're a Bengals fan is the offensive line. I mean, hell, you made it to the Super Bowl last year and gave up 70 sacks. I mean, they didn't get worse up front. They're getting healthy. Jamar's back. I mean, you got Boyd. You got T. Higgins. I mean, you got the redheaded stepchild at tight end. And your defense is playing well, right? You're a bend but don't break defense. You're playing extremely good in the red zone. And the one team that has had the Chiefs number, right, is the Bengals, right? Joey Shiesty at quarterback. I don't know a guy who's more confident than Joey Shiesty right now. I mean, the dude's an absolute national treasure. At this point, I don't know what the odds are right now for the Bengals to win the Super Bowl, but you wouldn't be crazy to go to DraftKings and put a little money on the Bengals to win that.
Yeah, hey, you know what's funny? I saw people tweeting last night, imagine if Joe Burrow gave up this comeback lead like Justin Herbert did. What would they be saying about them? I was like, first off, Joe Burrow wouldn't give up that lead, but Joe Burrow's coach wouldn't put him in a position to give up that lead. Zach Taylor may have made a terrible call on fourth down last year in the Super Bowl.
Never forget.
Okay, may have made a terrible call. All right, we all get it. But again, I think Zach Taylor's smart enough to be able to look up at that clock, do the quick algebra, and realize what's going on and not abandon what got.
Well, real quick, the one thing that you can kind of correlate from that Bengals game to the Chargers game was late in the game they didn't do what? They didn't give their best player the ball.
Yeah,
right. You're gonna throw a flare to Samaje Perine when Jamar Chase is running wide open down the sidelines, right? And even if Joey wanted to throw to him, you sent the back out, right?
Well,
you didn't help on Aaron Donald.
Yeah, well, to me, again, it's the overthinking. There is such a thing. When you sit in that facility all day, every day, all week, and you think, you know what, guys? If it comes down to one play, it's like the coach of the water boys, like, bring it in. Everybody come here. If it comes down to one play, they all know that we're going to Jamar Chase. But guess who they would never, in a trillion years, think that we would go to? Samaje, come in here. Samaje Perine on the flare or the angle. They're like, coach, it's brilliant. They're not even going to cover him. They don't even know he's on the team.
Not even your best
overthinking it sometimes. We see this like kind of the opposite in basketball, right? We're like, oh, my God, they doubled the best player in the game-winning shot. Why would you let them shoot the shot? Well, that's my best player. If I'm going down, it's because I'm going down with my best player. Joe Burrow putting that ball into the night sky to Jamar Chase. Either we're going to catch it, it's going to be incomplete, or they're going to intercept it, and we're going to win or lose. But at least I could sleep at night. That's the worst part, I think, when you look at these things. But I just, guys, I don't see the Ravens being able to just stick around, for this entire game. It may be a little bit low scoring at halftime, but eventually with the weapons the Bengals have, I don't think even if the Browns were able to get into the red zone, the Ravens are able to get into the red zone, I don't think they're going to be able to score touchdowns. Justin Tucker's going to make every field goal, but the Bengals will be able to score touchdowns in the red zone, even with Roquan Smith there. So I'm going Bengals. Give me Cincinnati 27-13. Give me the Bengals 27-13.
Yeah, man. If you watch the Bengals' first two games of this season, it looked like they were not only going to have the same problems as last year you're talking about, but actually regressed a little bit with all the pressure that was getting to Joe Burrow. Then all of a sudden they figured it out. They turned this thing around. They're getting the ball to their best players in more creative ways, protecting Joe Burrow. This offense is as scary as any to me in the league. Like Blaine said, they need to figure out a couple things on defense if they're going to make the ride all the way back to the Super Bowl and win it this time. But I really, really like this Bengals team, especially on offense. I'm going to take the Bengals today 31-13.
I like that. I'm going 34-10 Bengals.
Okay, it's the same score I have for the Bills. All right. Well, let's move on. Let's go Giants, Vikings. I think this is obviously going to be the best game of the day. And everybody I'm hearing right now, and I get it, And I've had those same feelings. Maybe producer Justine's rubbing off on me. But Giants in the upset, right? Plus 125 money line bet. The Vikings defense has really, really, really struggled. And I get it, right? Kirk Cousins isn't playing at noon. They're playing at 3:30. Murder, She Wrote comes on at 6. He's got dinner at 4:45. How's it going to go? You never know with Kirk. But I think the Vikings are hearing all of this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think this one has a little bit of a not TCU Michigan vibe, because the difference in those teams, I think, were pretty stark. I think that would have been a bigger upset than if the Giants beat the Vikings. But there's something about being counted out when you're the higher seed. You're the home team. There's had to be no motivation factor for the Vikings this week on defense and offense. I can promise you that. Justin Jefferson hadn't really been balling lately. But when you look at the Vikings, if that defense can come out and get a couple turnovers, which Daniel Jones has done a really good job operating without turning the ball over. The quarterback run game's been really strong. Saquon's having a resurgence. We know what they've been able to do out wide with Slayton and some of those guys. But, man, the more I think about this game, and the more I look at the week leading up to, I'm really starting to lean Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
And it again, can the Vikings sit there and give up, be down 14, 17 points and have to keep coming back? I don't think you can survive that way. But just part of me thinks that this one's personal a little bit for the Vikings. Maybe they may lose by 20. I know they may get up 30 and blow the game almost like the Chargers did. I don't know, Cone. I'm just kind of feeling the Vikings a little bit here.
That's so funny because I thought I have the exact same take as you, and I thought I'd be the only one because I was leaning Giants throughout most of the week, and I've been going back and forth on this game. And as I sit here right now on Sunday morning, you have to like the Vikings in the football game. Now, I am really tired of the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde nature of this football team. Either getting down so big to the Colts they have to fight their way all the way back, or getting blown out by the Eagles and Dallas when we were looking forward to those games to be close ball games. But at home, I think with the better roster, despite all the ineptitude on defense, you still have to like the Vikings to win the football game. With that being said, I'm staying away from this in terms of picking a winner on my bets. I'm not putting any money on Minnesota. I'm not putting any money on New York. And I do think that we're going to see a good ball game. I expect Brian Daboll to come in on the road with Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley and at least be physical and play this team tough.
Mm-hmm.
I like the over.
Yeah, the thing about this game, it's so hard to predict because it's the grittiness of the Giants. They're such a gritty football team on both sides of the ball, especially on their front seven. The Giants' front seven is extremely good. Thibodeau's coming, he's balling this year, and it's hard for me to believe in Kirk Cousins anything after noon. It's a 3 o'clock game. I just don't believe in Kirk Cousins. If it's me, I'm doubling Justin Jefferson. How many times are you willing to give the ball to Dalvin Cook? All right, because I know y'all want to throw it. The Vikings want to throw the football. How many times are you willing to give it to Dalvin Cook? And how many times, even if we're light in the box, if we're having less head in the box, I still think the Giants can play. Daniel Jones. What Daniel Jones is going to show up today? You got to think Coach Daboll is not going to be super complicated in his reads, make anything hard from him. I'm getting Daniel outside the box. I like the Giants in this game. I think Saquon Barkley is going to have a big game. And I just don't think the Vikings on defense are going to be able to withstand the running game from the Giants. And I think once you get the running game from the Giants and you get the play action game over the top, Darius Slayton, who's an extremely good wide receiver. They have a couple other guys who came on. I think just the physicalness and the toughness of the Giants late in this game. So give me the Giants by a field goal.
Well, look, watch out for KJ Osborne. Watch out for KJ Osborne in this game. Like that, we know they're going to be looking at Justin Jefferson, but that's the thing about the Vikings. I mean, they've got more weapons than Ukraine right now. I mean, look, they got T.J. Hawkinson at tight end. KJ Osborne came on huge late. Adam Thielen, the wily vet. Haru, the great white ninja out there making great decisions. Dalvin Cook, a guy in the pass game that's a pretty good player, and you got Madison as a backup, so you can go ahead and work them around a little bit. I do think the Vikings have some weapons, but yeah, they're going to try and take Justin Jefferson away. Coney, what you think?
I'll say one more thing on Minnesota. A lot of the disappointment for them is when they were getting blown out in games that we thought they could keep it close in, like I was saying with Philadelphia and Dallas.
Green Bay.
One of the things they have, yes, and Green Bay. One of the things they have done really well, though, is they've been winning close ball games. So if it is close at the end, you have to like that experience throughout the season of them to be able to win a one-score game.
Clutch Kirk Cousins. All right, let's get score prediction. Go to the chat real quick. I am going to go. I think Minnesota is down by 1 late. I think they kick a 46-yard field goal inside the dome to win the game. Give me Minnesota. Let's go 33-31. Give me Minnesota 33-31.
I like the same scenario, but more like 24-23.
Okay.
Give me 24-21 Giants.
Wow, low scoring game. But well, if you take the
Almost
alternate
45.
line, that over could hit. What do we got in the chat?
All right, let's go to Michael Williams. Maybe I had to scroll up a little bit for this one. We definitely want to get this one out. He says, David, can I get a shout out to my lovely fiance, Laura? 76 more days before we get married.
Oh, wow.
Man, shout out to Laura. Yeah, congratulations, man. I'm excited. Where y'all getting married? Tell us.
120 days over here, so we're going to be getting married around the same time.
Wow, you are getting married at the same time. Who was that, Blaine? Who said that?
That was Michael Fleming. Michael Williams.
Congratulations,
Michael Fleming
Michael.
Williams.
That's awesome.
I think it's
man.
Michael Williams. I'd have to scroll back down and find it, but his chat's moving. So,
what an exciting time, man!
Trying to get everybody's. Isaac Rhodes. I saw your comment earlier, man. I appreciate it. He says he loves the show. He's bringing back his hope for sports through us, man, and that's all we try to get done here. Let's go to Chip Plyer. Says let's give Cousins credit. RG3 was a sexy Heisman winner, first round draft pick. Cousins is starting the playoffs. RG3 is making dummy comments for ESPN. Don't get me started on RG3. The dude's a racist. I don't care what anybody tells me.
Look. Here's my thing about RG3. Here's my thing about RG3. I mean, it's funny. Kirk Cousins has done more with less, and you've done less with more than just about anybody. And I know you got hurt and things like that, but at the end of the day, man, you out here clowning a guy that's done so much more than you're jelly. It's like Eric Ainge and Stetson Bennett to me. Eric Ainge wants to try Stetson Bennett because he wants to be Stetson Bennett. And that doesn't mean that you can't be critical. That's not what I'm saying. But it's the way you go about it. RG3, I'm sorry, you were a bust. Just like Carson Wentz, just like Jamarcus, just like a sculpture in a museum. You're a bust. I'm sorry. It just is what it is, dog. You can be hurt about it. I mean, you're the one out there saying you're racist to your own race. I mean, I don't know another way to put it.
What did he say? What did he say about Kirk?
Oh, he was making fun of him or something. Like, wasn't a big quarterback. I'd have to go look at it.
It's like Ryan Clark. Ryan Clark can call a white wide receiver an accountant and stuff like that. But God forbid you say something about somebody that's not a white guy. God forbid.
The double standards. Let's go to Mike RFF Lifestyle. Yeah, I'm glad we're getting to this, Cone. How's your chest feeling, Sir Cone? Hashtag math and push-ups. So you're telling me.
I just responded to him in the chat, actually.
So you're telling me. All right, 450?
No, 400. And I'm not going to lie. If it had been 450
minutes, Dave.
You did it? You did 446 minutes?
I did it. Yeah, I had to know. And I'll get into this a little bit more next week, but I had to know. Knocked out 400 push-ups. It was in 36 minutes, but I'm going to be honest with you. If it had been 450, I wasn't making it, man.
Dude, you did it in 36 minutes. Who are you fighting? That's unbelievable.
100 in the first 5. Then I took a 5-minute break. Got the second 100 in 16 total minutes. Took a 5-minute break. After that, things started hurting, man.
I'd have tried to do 200 as fast as possible and then waited 57 minutes.
I tried to do 100 push-ups tonight, but my shoulder, man.
I'm not gonna lie, man. I couldn't hardly brush my teeth last night. Like lifting up.
All right, let's go to David S. Hashtag Ask Cranico. He says, are you guys confident that the Jags will actually succeed in the long run rather than make noise and then fizzle out like they did in 2017? Yeah, I'm confident because you have Trevor Lawrence, a quarterback who's young. You have Doug Peterson, who's an extremely good play caller, and you're young all across the board. I mean, you got to think their tackle right now got hurt. Their starting tackle got hurt 4 or 5 weeks ago. So, I mean, you're young. If you're the Jaguars, you're in a good spot, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, define success. That's what I always say. Like, all right, well, what is success? You talk about winning the Super Bowl? Do I think the Jags are going to win a Super Bowl in the next 3 to 5 years? I don't think they are. But do I think they can make it back to a conference? Going to a conference championship game and not winning, it isn't fizzling out to me. What the Chargers did yesterday is fizzling out to me. Not what the Seahawks losing to the 49ers is not fizzling out to me. You exceeded expectations. I think the Jaguars can be in the hunt. Maybe one year they catch a couple breaks, go all the way to the Super Bowl and have a chance. But I don't think they're going to be a perennial power now just because Doug Peterson and T-Law is there because there's so much around them. Let's go one more and then talk a little bit of hoops before we wrap up.
All right, let's go to I got to pick between these two. Let's go to Emmanuel C. Well, Daniel Jones had the most rushing yards of the QBs in the wild card weekend. I think it's either Daniel Jones or Josh Allen.
When I look at the way that I think the Vikings defense is in the front seven, and it's not like the Giants are looking at Daniel Jones, in my opinion, as a guy for the next 10 years. Not saying they won't re-sign him or anything like that. I don't think they're afraid to run him. Let's put it that way. In quarterback design runs. I'm not talking about when the play breaks down and he takes off, or, keeping it on the zone read RPO, if Daboll runs any of that. I'm talking about Q power. I'm talking about Q lead. I'm talking about power read, things like that. Naked boots, where he's just keeping it. Wouldn't be shocked to see one of those inside the 5-yard line when they're honing in on Saquon early. Would not be. It's going to come down to him and Josh. But I think what you're going to see from Josh Allen when you watch this game, I think the Dolphins are a little bit more talented in the front seven, in my opinion. So go ahead and, give me Daniel Jones. I like Daniel Jones.
And I don't think Josh Allen will be running so much if the Bills get up to a big lead. I think it also comes down to which defense is going to run more man. If you see a lot of man from the Vikings, you're going to be able to see Daniel Jones get out of the pocket.
Well, if anything, I think the Dolphins will run a lot more men than the Vikings. The Vikings are always usually in that cover 2 shell. They
That's something to consider.
2 defense, and with Xavier and Howard out wide for the Dolphins, I think you'll playing corner for the Dolphins. I think you'll see a lot more man from them.
I agree. And look, let's be honest, the Bills aren't exactly great on defense either as we get down into this thing. All right, I want to hop into some college basketball real quick. We're obviously going to be talking more about this. Alabama yesterday just destroyed LSU. I mean, absolutely destroyed them. It was at one point in 2 different games, I've never seen this. A team was winning 44-14. Alabama beat LSU yesterday, beat them to death. Was up 44-14. A couple hours later, Texas A&M is playing South Carolina, who just beat Kentucky on the road, who just beat Tennessee on the road earlier in that day, and they were beating South Carolina 44-14. Guys, I had like a 7-leg basketball parlay at like plus 562 yesterday, and it betting basketball is just like, we'll see. We'll see. I couldn't believe it. UCLA came back and won. Texas came back and won. Alabama right now, to me, is a top 2 team in the country. They're a top 2 team in the country. And it's hard for me to sit here and say I think Houston's a better team when Alabama beat them on the road. Yeah. I mean, their only losses are to UConn and to Houston, and we know what UConn's doing. We know what Houston is doing. But here's where I would be a little bit worried if I was an Alabama fan. Peaking too early in college basketball is a real thing. I've watched Auburn do it. I think Auburn won their first, 19 games last year, something like that. Didn't lose a game, something crazy like that. What was going off, and then all of a sudden you get into that tournament, that regular season starts to wrap up. You get in that conference tournament, then you get in that NCAA tournament, and you're not playing like you were before. Alabama has depth, but I worry about the defense still, and I worry about no down low presence. Because I'm looking at that thing Purdue has down there and what some of these other teams has, like Creighton. And you saw what UConn did to them. UConn won that game because Sonogo big boyed them down low. That's the only if Brandon Miller's going to have to outscore a lot of people in the NCAA tournament to make up for that post-game presence or that down low presence in the block. But Brandon Miller's good enough to do it.
Yeah, but when you say no post-game presence, man, I feel like the weight that Bediako has put on, the way that he's been playing, I mean, Kentucky had to take Oscar Tshiebwe, the reigning player of the year, out of the game. Now, I know there's a big height difference there, but look, it's still his job to go. He's never been out-rebounded in a game before he played Alabama. So I think that if Bediako can stay out of foul trouble, that's going to be a huge thing for Alabama. Tell you what surprised me even more yesterday, boys, was Kentucky over Tennessee, and I'm so glad I stayed away from that game. I said, something weird is going on here. It just because the spread was so big, not because I thought Kentucky would win, but college basketball sure is heating up, man.
I'd say this one thing. I think Nate Oats is going to get either you're going to have to pay this man a lot of money, or he's coaching for another job right now. I mean, he's coaching for. I mean, I don't know if Kentucky will let Cal go. It depends, but he's coaching on a Big Ten job right now. Nate Oats is. I think Alabama's the best team in the country.
Well, and if that's the case, and if he could win it all at Alabama or be a Final Four team. Why leave? Why leave? If they're going to give you all the resources you want, Alabama's already proven they have a championship mentality, and they're starting to really invest in basketball like that. At this point, do you really gain that much if you go leave to be at Kentucky?
Well, yeah, it depends on the contract, right? Well, that's what it's going to come down to. It depends on what they're willing to give up to pay Nate Oats, which I think they should be willing to give up almost everything. This is the thing about Alabama. If you're an Alabama fan right now, you're probably going to have the number one pick in basketball and the NFL draft. All right. I mean, Brandon Pillar, number one pick, either going to be Bryce or Will Anderson.
You better win a championship.
I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, the one thing I'm comfortable at Alabama is just go through their schedule and look who they've played.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, North Carolina, Houston, UConn, Michigan State, like they've seen Gonzaga. They've seen what the best is around in college basketball. So they're not going to get to the tournament and somewhat be surprised. They've already played an extremely high-pressure game. So I think right now, it's really funny game plan from LSU. It's like, well, we're just not going to guard Alabama's best player. We're going to see how it goes. I mean, they're dropping 31 points, and the kid's going to be the number one draft pick. I like Alabama. If you're Kentucky, you needed this. You needed this in a bad way, especially Coach Cal. You needed this bad. The Rick Barnes special, baby. I promise you. When it matters, he's going to blow it.
That looked like Sweet 16 Tennessee yesterday, fellas. That's exactly what that looked like.
I'm talking about a guy who's had the most and done the least. The amount of great basketball teams that Tennessee has who's just fizzled out. Hell, David, you picked them to win the tournament last year. They're a phenomenal basketball team.
I did that based off that 2 weeks down the stretch there in the SEC.
It's not a crazy pick, David. The way they were playing last year, that wasn't a crazy pick.
I don't think they lost a home game all season. Right. Yeah.
Like again, and basketball, that's why we love it, though. We appreciate you guys. Anything in the chat line before we wrap?
Yeah, let's go to Ben Laden, a.k.a. Bin Laden. What's up, brother? $10 donation. He says, Alabama scored more points in one half than Tennessee scored in the whole game. Can Alabama be the favorite to win this thing? You're damn right they can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, and again, I'm just going to go back. I've watched enough college basketball in my life just to realize how this plays out. Like, again, it's snapshots in time, right? How you're playing at the beginning, how you're playing in the middle, how you're playing going in the turn play. If they can continue this and keep getting the reason Alabama's fantastic right now isn't just because of Brandon Miller. All right. Noah Clowney has come in as a young guy and made a huge difference.
Yep.
Sears coming in as an older guy, a veteran, the Ohio transfer, come in and made a huge difference. I mean, the guys who were the face of the program, Javon Quinterly, that dude's struggling to get minutes.
Yeah.
But the depth. That's what they've done. It's the depth. It's not just the surface level. It's the depth. That's how you win these games. But we all know how fickle basketball is, guys, and how crazy it can get. Blaine, a couple more before we ride.
Okay, let's go to Alan Crew. Bama has never made a Final Four. Maybe this is a year. I mean, I don't know if there's been a better year than this year. Yeah, Javon Quinterly played 2 minutes the other day. Jake Franklin, speaking of the NFL draft, these rumors about Stroud staying at Ohio State are getting more traction. I feel like there's no way.
How would this happen?
There's no way. Why would I understand the NIL deal? Like I get it, but you're gonna be a top 3 pick, and it's the quarter. This sound like next year's quarterback draft class is lacking.
Yes,
or
true.
Anything. There's 6 or 7 guys who are probably gonna go in the first round.
I have no connection to CJ Stroud. We're obviously not in the same family, but even I'm nervous for you right now, dog. What are you doing? Like what? Go to the draft. Look at me. Go to the draft, CJ. This is dumb. You got until tomorrow. You got a couple other guys who haven't declared either. I mean, the wide receiver from TCU, Quentin Johnson, hadn't declared either. Declare. Let me do it for you, CJ. CJ Stroud, Ohio State quarterback, is declaring for the NFL draft. There, I fixed it. You're welcome. I want 10% of whatever that first round money you get. All right. And there's no way, right, David? There's no way he stays, right?
I think the fact it's taken this long just tells you that's how much it means to him to come back and beat Michigan, to win a Big Ten championship, to win a national championship. I mean, the fact that he's even considering it just tells me how much he wants to be a champion.
$100 million to come back. That's what my price is.
Yeah,
$100 million.
Look, man, he's going to go to the NFL, but the fact he's even doing his due diligence and taking this long just tells me to me, it tells me what a champion mentality he has because he didn't accomplish those things on the college stage.
Is this a PR play? Is
I don't
this
think
just a
so.
high IQ PR
I don't think
play?
so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think he's legitimately thinking, man, I didn't accomplish what I wanted to in college. I still could. What can they even come up with the funds and the numbers to even make it worthwhile? And I think at the end of the day, the people closest to him will talk to him and say, hey, you can't pass this up.
Let's go to Scott Beret. What's up, Scott? He says, will you guys be doing anything on draft day? I would rather watch you than Mel Kiper. We do anything on draft day,
that's
fellas?
a good idea, actually.
Let's do it.
We're going to live stream the Super Bowl for sure.
Well, we live streamed the first round last year. over at Coney's house. Remember
We
that?
we did.
Oh
do
yeah,
that.
we did do that. That's right. We
correct.
did the first round. That's right.
Yeah, well, we're definitely going to live stream the draft. We're going to be getting a lot more live stream stuff. So make sure you guys are subscribed. Follow us on all social media. Go to @CraneCompany if you have Twitter right now. If you don't, I totally understand. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok as well. Go to Daily Wire Plus. Sign up, become a member, guys. We do an all access every Thursday, which is basically an hour with you and us, but kind of a little more formal, a little more casual. I don't know if you can get more casual than this. And no, I'm not locked in a bunker somewhere. I've got to get Reed to come up here and decorate. But I've got a ton of cool stuff. I'm going to trip this man cave out. But some great games today. We really appreciate you guys. Parting shots, David and Blaine.
No, man, you guys have a great Sunday. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah,
hey, how's
enjoy
Darby
watching
doing?
some football. Have a great Sunday. Spend some time with your family, guys.
Yeah, doing good. Thank you. She's about ready to go. Baby
All
watch.
right. Walsh had his twins yesterday. I mean, he's got a baseball team right now he can send out there.
Yeah, and y'all go watch our interview with Matt Walsh as well.
Really
it's great. Got some great stuff coming up this week. Check out DraftKings, everything associated with Crane and Company on the Daily Wire and Daily Wire Plus. We appreciate y'all. Hope you had a hell of a weekend getting ready for a big week. Remember, it's always a great day to have a great day, and we're gone.